The XC60 has been an important car for Volvo, consistently outselling every other model in the range by some margin. That's a trend that shows no sign of slowing, with XC60 sales up by 20% globally this year so far. It's not difficult to see why, with an appealing sense of taut lines and creases, particularly on our R-Design test car. It's nicely detailed too, with a strong shoulder line that flows into the attractive rear light clusters, a suggestive pair of tailpipes, and a subtle roof spoiler to finish it all off. The interior is just as appealing, with Volvo's now familiar floating centre stack, behind which is a handy storage area. The R-Design seats of our car don't just look good with their mix of nubuck leather and contrasting stitching, they're also incredibly comfortable and very supportive, with a range of adjustment that should allow drivers of practically any size to make themselves at home. The dashboard itself is laid out with beautifully simple lines and a clear focus on the driver, while the all-digital instruments are clear and easy to read, with a choice of 3 different styles to suit your mood, plus a rather neat set of animations. We particularly like the incredibly simple switchgear for the climate control, and above this sits Volvo's optional Sensors Connect system. It offers navigation plus music from DAB digital radio, your phone over Bluetooth, or your favourite tracks from its built-in hard drive. We particularly like the way the owner's manual is built into the system, so you don't need to rifle through the glove box if you're not sure how something works. The system also integrates with the car's various gadgets, of which there are many, such as a reversing camera and the optional front-mounted camera that makes it easy to see out of blind junctions, and the long list of safety equipment. Specify the optional driver support pack, and this list gets even longer, adding goodies such as the blind spot warning system, the cyclist and pedestrian detection system that glows at you menacingly from the base of the windscreen, and our favourite, the quite frankly fabulous active headlights. This couples the already excellent swivelling xenon headlights with a system that detects other cars on the road, shading out part of the beam pattern to avoid dazzling other drivers. Effectively, it allows you to drive with permanent high beam without upsetting anyone, and I have to say, during our testing, it performed flawlessly. Rear seat passengers have their own well-contoured seats, complete with optional heating, and there's a decent amount of space, although middle seat passengers might feel shortchanged by the high transmission tunnel. The XC60 has one of the most practical cargo spaces in its segment, with 655 litres of space as standard, rising to 1,455 litres with the seats folded, and that's easy to do thanks to the 40-20-40 split seats. There's space under the floor to keep valuables out of sight, plus a home for the admittedly optional spare wheel. In fact, our only observation is that there's nowhere convenient to store the cargo cover when it's not in use. The XC60 is available with 3 diesel engines and 1 high-powered petrol unit, the most popular of which is likely to be the new D4 as fitted to our car. From its 2 litres, it produces a healthy 181 horsepower and 400 Nm of torque, and regardless of whether it's mated to either the standard 6-speed manual or the optional 8-speed auto, it needs just 8.5 seconds to sprint from 0 to 62 miles an hour. It's pretty efficient too, with CO2 emissions of 117 grams per kilometre and an official economy figure of 62.8 mpg. At present, it's only available in front-wheel drive form, the all-wheel drive models instead using the old D4 unit, a 2.4 litre 5-cylinder. That's also available as a D5 with 215 horsepower, but if you need more power than that, there's a tyre-shredding T6 with 304 horsepower that can blast its way to 60 in under 6.9 seconds. On the road, I have to say the new D4 is remarkably refined, with only the gentlest of diesel noises making their way into the cabin. The new 8-speed automatic is also excellent. It seems to have an innate understanding of the diesel engine's power delivery, and it knows when to hold on to a gear to make the most of the D4's wave of torque. A sportier response can be had by knocking the lever across to the sport position, where the box will hold the res for longer and change gear quicker, while a degree of manual control can be had by nudging the lever back and forth to change through each of the 8 ratios sequentially. If economy is more your thing though, there's an Eco Plus mode that alters the behaviour of the turbos, recalibrates the throttle response, and even reconfigures the climate control, all to help save fuel. While we couldn't match the government's official figure, we had little trouble maintaining a 40 mpg average, and on a longer journey, something in the low to mid-50s should be perfectly possible. Our design models use a stiffer chassis setup than conventional XC60s, and while this can make them ride rather harshly on some surfaces, the benefit is a surprising enthusiasm for corners. Shove the Volvo into a series of bends, a job made easier by steering that offers more feedback than you might be used to from an electrically assisted rack, and you'll be rewarded with little in the way of body roll and far more grip than you might expect. Prices for the XC60 start at £31,260, with our D4 R-Design test car starting at £32,735. Admittedly, our car wears nearly 10 grand's worth of options, bumping that figure closer to 44,000, but with a generous standard spec and a couple of tasteful options, the XC60 stacks up well against the competition. Volvo's aim for the XC60 was to create something that would appeal to younger buyers, and in our design spec at least, we say they've succeeded. In fact, looking back at all the cars we've tested this year, the XC60 features highly on the list of cars we didn't want to give back.